I think we're live. Oh, no, we're live now. Hi, everybody. I'm Jeanette, the owner of MYBC Consulting, the Me, Myself, and I company. Well, the 3 C's of MYBC Consulting is community, connection, and collaboration. And this is one of the reasons why, before we got on, our guest today, Natalie Pereman, asked me why I do this. And I do this because I love creativity. And I believe that if we are not celebrating each other's creativity, we are not doing the world any good. And with that, I don't want to spend too much time in the explanation because this particular story, I believe it's going to hit home for a lot of people. It's a story that needed to be written. I am looking forward to digging deep into it. And I just want to put a caveat to it. There could be some tough conversations or some tough sharing today in order for Natalie to have taken pen to paper or fingers to keyboard to write this book. So welcome, Natalie, to the MYBC Virtual Bookstore Author Series.
Thank you very much for having me.
So where are you located in this incredible big blue marble?
The closest town is 100 Mile House, which is in northwestern British Columbia.
I know it well. I have my oldest stepson lives in 108 miles, so I'm familiar with that area very well. So this is all about, so first of all, the name of your book is
Heal Your Kids, Heal Your Heart, Mom's Guide to Thrive After Loss, Trauma, and Abuse.
So there's a lot to unpack with that title. So let's take it in reverse. So that last part, the Mom's Guide for Loss, Trauma, and Abuse. Yeah. What is the basis, or why did you want to write this book based upon those last 3 words? There's some pretty tough words there.
Right. So at the age of 34, our daughters were 5 and 2, and my husband passed away at our business in a workplace accident. And so that covers the loss part. And then about 6 years later, I left a domestic violence situation with the girls, and then spent about 3 or 4 years really diving deep into healing, essentially. And so I'll just reverse a little bit. So when my husband passed away, I went to the doctor and I said, I have these symptoms and, panic attacks, not sleeping, worrying, all of those things. And so doctors only know so much. And so they had given me something to help me sleep, something to help with anxiety, and go to a counselor. So counseling definitely helped. But after about a year, it kind of run its course because when you're dealing with grief, sometimes you don't really want to talk about it consistently because you're already thinking about it all the time, that person. And drugs, that was a short-lived thing. That's just not my style. So fast forward 5 years later, and now I'm in this situation again, and I'm sitting in a safe house with my now 3 children thinking, how can this possibly be happening again to me? Where you're just feeling like you've lost everything. You don't know where to start, and you feel alone, and you don't know what to do, and you don't know where to go for help, although we were sitting in a safe house, so we were safe. Right. But, the doctor, once again, will take these drugs and go see a therapist. And I knew then that there had to be another way. Like, this could not continue on. And I had dealt with many issues with my daughters as well, with migraine headaches with one of my daughters, nauseousness, nightmares, all the things to do with kids and grief. And there really wasn't a lot of answers. So I just vowed that I would find some answers. And when I did, I would help other people. And so that's kind of how I ended up writing the book, although it took several years for me to get to a place of thinking, okay, I'm ready to write the book. For sure.
So I love that you reversed me because it's your story. So that's awesome. Let's take that first 2 words or first 3 words, heal your children. that to me is incredibly powerful, because there's so much out there that says, oh, mom, you got to put your mask on first. You've got to take care of yourself first. You've got to. So that's a bit of a paradigm shift to what is out there. So let's unpack that first, those first three words of your book. So heal your children. So how did you go about doing that?
Well, you're sure as hell not going to heal yourself first. Your kids first.
Right.
This it. I wouldn't have called the RCMP to get out of the situation we were in if it wasn't for my children.
Right.
Because let it go on for their sake any longer. As moms, we tend to always put our children first. And so when I was thinking of a name for the book, that's what hit home for me, because if it was another book about, oh, help yourself, no, I don't have time for that. But what I really need to deal with is my daughter's migraines, and she can't go to school because it's so bad. That's where that part comes from.
So were some of the symptoms that your children were experiencing were real life things? I've experienced a migraine, and there's nothing pleasant about a migraine. Were they manifestations, or I just had the word on the tip of my tongue, asymptomatic of what was going on in their life?
So we did see a pediatric neurologist.
Okay.
Unfortunately, they just prescribed more drugs and said, well, after she's done puberty, so she was 5. So when she's done puberty, then you can stop taking the adult migraine medicine. And she was getting them several times a week. And essentially what we figured out it was from was that your brain likes to sit at a baseline like this. And then when you are just so overwhelmed with thoughts, so if it's grief or whatever trauma that the brain is going through, if it's a happy thought, if you're too happy, you get a migraine. If you're too sad, you get a migraine. So yeah, so the brain just too much activity, if it's positive or negative, would trigger one. And it still happens now, and she's almost 15.
Fascinating. Our brains, in this past, what is it, 20 years, maybe less than 20 years, and how they're figuring out that we all thought this kind of inanimate object that lives behind our eyeballs is just kind of there, and what the magic, as well as how it indicates truly what's going on in our bodies. So fascinating. Is your daughter doing anything now for her migraines other than medication?
No, she doesn't take the medication because she was just so worried, and as was I, that the long-term effects of a child taking strong medication, does not work. So we did things like, I was born and raised in Squamish, which is about 5 hours from here. We packed up everything and moved out to the country. And so we simplified our life greatly. And the girls have horses, which are very therapeutic. They help a lot, as well as even we have dogs and cats. Any animals are really, really good at helping to calm the brain. And it was really just for her taking away every activity to start with. So no dance, nothing, just taking it all away. And
so that's almost okay. So I just got a little tingle, and it was like, when I hear about people that have migraines, they tend to take away food, but you taking away bits of life activity is just something so incredibly fascinating.
But it's taking away certain parts of life's activity. So taking away being with, like in a group setting, a group sport, for example, but having her own horse on our property, so she can go out and ride her horse whenever she wants, or to be with her horse whenever she wants. We live on a lake, so she can go kayaking by herself when she wants. It's been definitely testing to try and figure out, but definitely migraines are definitely triggered by food as well. So it's not, that isn't an issue too.
Well, I think it's an interesting approach for those that are suffering with migraines. that I bet you a lot of people didn't think about is take yourself away from the possible thing or situation that is causing you to have the migraine, and how are you going to take care of yourself? So is this outlined in your book, this story of, oh, guys, that's worth the book right there. Just like simply right there is a whole different thought process. So your other children, what were some of the other things that you helped to heal them, like the modalities you used?
So another daughter, she has a really upset tummy, and so the trauma is holds in her tummy. So, but it's another thing where being around her horse and being with her horse, being calm and just out of that environment has been really helped her. We've used Reiki energy healing with her quite a bit, so that has really helped. She doesn't sleep well a lot of the time, so using essential oils in a diffuser to help her fall asleep, that sort of thing, has really helped.
Okay, and you said you had 3 children. How about the last little one?
Well, the little one's little. She's only 6 now, so she's grown up on the farm. So she plays in the water and plays in the mud and picks pretty rocks, and her life is fairly not stressful. Yeah. So she's pretty much untouched from a lot of that stuff, thankfully.
That's beautiful. Now let's unpack the second part of the title. So heal your children. Those are the physical things that are in your life. They are your children. You can hug and touch them and tuck them into bed and play and really put a big loving on them. So how did you heal your heart? Now we're talking about, I think, a metaphorical situation, though we all know we have our hearts in our chest and it's a real life organ. So how did you heal your heart?
Well, definitely by seeing your kids not suffer. Fills your heart quite a bit. No mom likes to see their children sad, let alone over big things like losing their dad and not understanding and that sort of thing. For me, it's really been trying to figure out who I am after the loss of my husband and moving through all of that grief and getting my confidence back and realizing that I can make a difference to other people and that my story does matter and that people do want to hear my story, which for a long time, I was not in that place where I wanted to share my story, first of all, especially with regards to domestic violence, because it's fairly taboo for sure. People don't want to admit it or don't know, or they just don't know what to say, or it can make people quite uncomfortable.
Yes, absolutely. I see your book is behind you. If you wouldn't mind grabbing that copy of your book. Oh, she's got one right there. So can we have you read the back of the book? And then if you'd like to open up to a passage in the book you'd like to share today.
Okay. The back is quite long, so I'll just read a little snippet of it. Okay. Have you left the abusive relationship, but find yourself still feeling like your kids will never be the same again? Is counseling not giving you the healing results you'd hope for? Childhood trauma and PTSD are debilitating, not only for the child, but also for the parents who watch their kids struggle and feel helpless. Do you remember when your kids were happy, they slept well, they loved school, they had great friends and no migraines or tummy aches and were outgoing? Don't worry, you have not failed as a mom. Your kids can get there again with this easy to follow and implement guide.
Wow. So I invite you to open up a passage and maybe share something deep within the pages.
So what I wanted to do was to actually read a letter that I received from somebody who read the book.
Oh my gosh, I feel honored to hear these words.
One of the things about this book that I've had quite a few people read and message me is in the book, I define what domestic violence actually is, because a lot of people think domestic violence is either a male doing it to a female or a female doing it to a male, is that it's physical abuse, pushing people around and, you know, broken bones and those sorts of things. But a lot of the time, it's the hidden abuse that's the emotional abuse, where you lose complete control of who you think you are, and you have zero confidence left by the end. You are just a shell of who the person you once were. And I think that is one of the big parts of the book as well, is for some people realizing they thought maybe it was an abusive relationship, but really it hits home like, holy moly, this is me, and this is not good. And so I had a woman send me a letter, a handwritten letter, not even an email. And it says, I have been going through my own journey for the last few years, and I believe it was you writing your book that really started my journey. Had you not titled it What You Did and sent it out to the universe, I feel like I would still be in denial about what my journey with my boyfriend actually was. Admitting to myself and others that I was in an abusive relationship is a huge emotional toll for me that made me look for healing. I've reached a very lovely place in my journey, and I'm finally feeling centered and at peace. I honor what I need and don't question why much anymore. From one woman to another, thank you so much for your gift. So.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. That's so powerful. Oh.
And it was still, you know, these letters started coming in that I felt like, you know, this is why I wrote the book, and this is why I felt that I needed to. I sat at the post office parking lot, bawling my eyes out, reading this letter, for me to realize that maybe I do have some value to the world with my story.
You 100% do, and thank you to the woman who took pen to paper to honor that and to see you in your greatness. Well, I would like to leave it there, but you have one last, please, thought. My question is, who needs to read this book?
I would say pretty much any adult, being having children or not, because I feel that once we're adults, we've been through the ringer enough, usually, whether it's in our childhood or as adults, and we all have some stuff that we could, emotional things that we can deal with. Perhaps if you're open to looking at other ways of healing besides just counseling, which is still valuable, a very valuable tool. But if you're looking for more and looking at ways to heal yourself, learning tools that you can use yourself, and that's what is in the book, is learning how to do it yourself.
Thank you so much. So there you go. Thank you, Natalie, for sharing your story, sharing your time today, and the courage to take pen to paper or fingers to keyboard, or however you pen this book, of heal your children, heal your heart. You've made a difference in the world with your story. So thank you so much. And I know your book is available on Amazon. I'm not sure yet if my web guys got your book up on my website, but I have the MYBC virtual bookstore on my website. Guys, it's not listed anyway. You just go onto that section, and it's much like you're wandering around a bookstore. You just keep scrolling around, and whether it's the cookbook or Natalie's book or doTERRA book that's up there, it's these people that I can tell you, the authors that are represented on these books on my website, I know them personally, whether it's through a Zoom, I get to meet them, through a friend. So, we need to do a special little shout out to Alana McAllister because she connected us up. So huge shout out to you, Lana. So peruse the bookstore, help support the creativity of others, and you will learn something, and who knows? Wow. Thank you, Natalie. And an early edition for you guys tuning in. Normally these come at 6 to 7, but I respect Natalie because she said she wanted to do this, and she takes care of her kids, come first during that time frame. So it's, you know what? She comes first right now with me. So thank you so much, everybody. Tune in next Tuesday night. I've got another episode of the MYBC Virtual Bookstore Author Series. And I have authors booked all the way up until August now. So stay tuned. Thank you so much and enjoy your day.
Thank you.